Imagine for a moment that a group of scientists, in their attempt to explore the deepest mysteries of consciousness and reality, ends up stumbling upon a truth that humanity has sought for millennia. Unintentionally, without even imagining it, they discover something that could redefine what we understand as God. Something not pursued with spiritual intentions, but that, in its essence, touches the deepest fibers of our existence. Now think about this. What if the answer to humanity's oldest question did not lie in a temple, in sacred texts, or in ancient mystical revelations, but in the heart of science? What if, in a laboratory, evidence had been found of a force that sustains reality itself, a force that some might call the essence of God? What you're about to discover is not just another experiment in the world of physics. It's not merely a set of complex equations or a theory without applications. It's a revelation that could change the way we understand life, the universe, and our role within it. And the most shocking thing is that what will be revealed at the end of this analysis is the most important key of all. Something that could make you reconsider everything you thought you knew about existence and divinity. Throughout history, humanity has tried to understand the concept of God in many ways. For some, God is an omnipotent being, a supreme intelligence that created the universe and everything that exists within it. For others, God is an impersonal force, an energy that flows through all things and gives rise to existence. And for others still, God is merely a human invention, an idea created to make sense of the unknown. But what if science, unintentionally, had stumbled upon a clue that leads us to a deeper understanding of the divine? What if deep within reality, there is a fundamental principle that connects consciousness with matter, mind with the universe, suggesting that there is something beyond mere chance? To understand this, we must dive into the world of quantum physics, a field of study that has challenged our understanding of reality in ways that until recently seemed unthinkable. Unlike classical physics, which presents us with an orderly and predictable world, quantum physics immerses us in a universe full of paradoxes and mysteries. It's a universe where particles can exist in multiple places at the same time, where observation itself alters the behavior of matter, and where consciousness seems to play a fundamental role in the creation of reality. One of the most striking experiments in this field is the famous double-slit experiment, a test that, despite its simplicity, has shaken the foundations of physics and led to questions that brush against the philosophical, the spiritual, and even the divine. Imagine a screen with two small slits and a device firing particles, like electrons or photons, towards it. If these particles behaved like tiny balls of matter, we would expect them to pass through one of the two slits and accumulate on the back screen in a predictable pattern. However, what actually happens is something much stranger and more unsettling. When no one is observing the experiment, the particles seem to behave like waves. That is, they pass through both slits at the same time and create an interference pattern on the background screen, like a wave splitting and merging again. However, the moment an observer tries to measure through which slit each particle goes, their behavior changes radically. They stop acting like a wave and become a particle, choosing a single path. This finding has puzzled scientists for decades. Why does simple observation change reality? How is it possible for a particle to behave one way when we are not observing it, and in a completely different way when we are? When we do so, the implications of this are profound. Observation itself affects the behavior of matter. Consciousness, in some way, influences reality, which leads us to an even bigger question. If observation determines the behavior of particles, what or who is the ultimate observer? If reality, at its most fundamental level, needs to be observed to manifest, could this be evidence of a universal consciousness? A field of primordial consciousness that sustains the existence of the universe. Many physicists and philosophers have pondered this issue. Some argue that it may indicate that human consciousness is more powerful than we imagine, that our mind is not just a product of matter, but an active participant in the creation of reality. Others suggest that this points to the existence of a supreme observer, a cosmic intelligence that upholds the existence of everything that is. But this is just the beginning. What comes next is even more astonishing and challenging. If consciousness has the power to affect reality at its most fundamental level, then the inevitable question arises: is there a supreme consciousness that observes everything? Could this be the manifestation of what religions have called God for centuries? Great mystics and philosophers have asserted that reality is an illusion, a veil that covers the true essence of the universe. Ancient texts like the Vedas in India, the Corpus Hermeticum in Hellenistic Egypt, and the teachings of great thinkers like Plato have suggested that what we perceive with our senses is only a small fraction of ultimate reality. And now, science seems to be dangerously approaching that same conclusion. To understand the magnitude of this discovery, we must explore what some scientists refer to as the hard problem of consciousness. For a long time, science has tried to explain consciousness as a simple function of the brain. According to this materialistic view, the mind is merely a result of biochemical processes within our head. However, the findings of quantum physics have called this idea into question. Some of the greatest physicists in history have suggested that consciousness could be a fundamental property of the universe, something that cannot be reduced solely to neural activity. Max Planck, the father of quantum theory, once said, "I consider consciousness to be fundamental. I consider matter to be derived from consciousness." This statement is revolutionary because it implies that the mind is not merely a byproduct of the brain, but something much deeper, something that may be the very foundation of existence. If this is true, then it means that consciousness is not confined to humans or a living being. It means that consciousness could be everywhere, woven into the very fabric of the cosmos. And if consciousness is all around us, then the line between what we call God and what we call the universe begins to blur. But there's more. Recent experiments have demonstrated something even more puzzling: the existence of quantum entanglement, a phenomenon in which two particles, no matter how far apart they are, can instantaneously affect one another. Einstein dubbed this spooky action at a distance because it seemed to violate everything we knew about classical physics. What this means is extraordinary. If two particles can be connected beyond time and space, then what prevents all of reality from being interconnected at a profound level? And if everything in the universe is entangled in a way that science is just beginning to grasp, some scientists have begun to speculate that this entanglement extends beyond matter to consciousness as well. In other words, our minds might be linked to a greater field of information, a network of knowledge that transcends space and time. This field has been referred to in many ways: Carl Jung's collective unconscious, the Akashic field in esoteric tradition, or even the quantum field in modern terms. If this is true, then we might be participating in a consciousness much larger than we imagine, a universal consciousness that connects everything, observes everything. And this leads us to another fascinating question. If consciousness influences reality, can we learn to use this connection to transform the world around us? Can we, in some way, interact with this universal consciousness? Spiritual traditions have spoken of this for centuries. Mystics have claimed that through meditation, prayer, or certain altered states of consciousness, it is possible to access a deeper level of reality, a level where time and space cease to be barriers and where the mind merges with the whole. But what does science say about this? It seems that the act of conscious observation not only changes the trajectory of a quantum particle, but might also alter reality on a larger scale. Recent research has shown that human intention can affect physical systems in ways we do not yet fully understand. Experiments conducted in laboratories have demonstrated that attention and intention can influence random processes, such as the falling of electrons in a quantum experiment. This has led some scientists to wonder if our consciousness plays an active role in the creation of reality, if we are not only observers, but also participants in the construction of the world. If this is true, the implications are enormous. It means that our beliefs, our thoughts and our emotions can have a real impact on the structure of reality. It implies that we are not mere passengers in this universe, but co-creators of our own experience. Yet, this is just part of the puzzle. The final piece, the most astonishing revelation of all, is something that could completely change our understanding of what it means to be human. If our consciousness has the power to influence reality, if our thoughts and emotions can alter the material world in ways not yet understood, then we face one of the deepest questions of existence. What is our true role in the universe? Throughout history, spiritual traditions have asserted that humans are not just passive observers of reality, but co-creators of it. In ancient texts from various cultures, from Vedic manuscripts to Gnostic Gospels, we find the idea that the human mind has the ability to shape existence, which quantum physics now suggests with equations and experiments. The sages of antiquity expressed this in metaphors and hidden teachings. Modern science is just beginning to acknowledge the power of consciousness. But this idea is not new. In Kabbalah, it is said that the universe is an emanation of the divine mind, and that humans, created in the image of that supreme intelligence, also hold the spark of creation within us. In Hermeticism, we encounter the principle of mentalism, which states that all is mind, suggesting that reality itself is a product of a primordial consciousness. And now, quantum physics seems to be telling us the same thing, though in a different language. Consciousness affects matter, the mind influences reality. If this is true, then the concept of God could be much closer to what we imagine. But there is something even more astonishing. If consciousness is a fundamental principle of the universe, then it may be present in everything and everyone, not just in humans, but in every atom, in every particle of light, in every corner of the cosmos. What we call God might not be a separate being, but the totality of existence itself, the infinite web of consciousness that permeates all that is. This idea, although revolutionary for modern science, has been explored by mystics and philosophers for centuries. Baruch Spinoza, the 17th century philosopher, spoke of a God that was not a distant being, but the very fabric of the universe. For him, God and nature were the same, a single infinite and eternal reality manifesting in all things. Albert Einstein, influenced by this vision, said that his idea of God was very similar, a cosmic order so breathtaking that the only possible response was reverence and awe. But if the entire universe is conscious, if reality itself is a field of infinite intelligence, then an inevitable question arises. What is our place in all this? The answer may lie in the interconnectedness between individual consciousness and universal consciousness. If our mind is part of this infinite field, then our intentions, thoughts, and emotions could be much more powerful than we believe, not just in a psychological or metaphorical sense, but on a fundamental level of reality. Think about this. If each of us is an extension of the universal consciousness, then the act of thinking, feeling, and perceiving is not something isolated, but a contribution to the infinite web of existence. What we believe and experience is not just an internal phenomenon, but an echo in the fabric of the cosmos. This would explain why spiritual traditions have emphasized the importance of meditation, prayer, and conscious intention. If our mind is connected to a greater field, then our thoughts can resonate in the very structure of the universe. This could be the basis of phenomena that science still does not fully understand, such as distant healing, telepathy, or mystical experiences in which individuals feel a profound unity with the whole. Recent studies on consciousness have begun to explore this possibility. Experiments in laboratories have shown that a person's mental state can influence physical systems in ways that challenge conventional explanation. Research on meditation has revealed that the brainwaves of individuals in deep concentration can synchronize with those of others, even over great distances. If all of this is true, it means that every thought, every emotion, and every intention has a real impact on the world. That the way we perceive reality can shape not only our personal experience, but the very structure of the universe. And if this is the case, then the search for God is not a matter of blind faith or religious dogma, but of profound exploration. It is not about finding a figure in the sky, but about discovering the presence of consciousness in everything that exists. But there is a final revelation, a truth even more shocking than what we have explored so far, something that could completely change the way we understand life, death, and the purpose of existence. If consciousness is not merely a byproduct of the brain, if it is not confined within our skulls, then we must ask ourselves. This is one of the oldest and deepest questions of humanity. Spiritual traditions have spoken for millennia about the immortality of the soul, the existence of other planes of reality, and the continuity of consciousness beyond physical death. But could science be approaching the same conclusion? Advances in the study of consciousness have begun to challenge the traditional view of death as an absolute endpoint. In recent years, numerous scientists have explored the so-called near-death experiences, episodes in which clinically deceased individuals have reported extraordinary perceptions, the sensation of leaving the body, a life review in an instant, entering a state of light and unconditional love, and, in many cases, returning with a new understanding of existence. One of the most striking studies was conducted by Dr. Bruce Grayson, a psychiatrist who dedicated decades to analyzing these cases. His findings suggest that near-death experiences cannot be simply explained as hallucinations or effects of a dying brain. In fact, in many instances, patients have been able to describe events occurring around them while they were unconscious, even at moments when there was no detectable brain activity. This leads us to a revolutionary idea. If consciousness can exist outside the body, if it can persist even when brain activity has ceased, then it is possible that what we call death is nothing more than a transition, a change of state within a larger field of consciousness. This idea also resonates in quantum physics. Some scientists, like Dr. Stuart Hameroff and physicist Roger Penrose, have proposed that consciousness is not generated by the brain, but rather received by it, much like an antenna picking up radio signals. According to this theory, the quantum information that forms our consciousness does not die with us. Instead, it reintegrates into the very fabric of the universe. If this is true, then our essence is not limited to this life or this body. We are part of something greater, an infinite network of consciousness that transcends time and space. And indeed, this is what many spiritual traditions have taught since ancient times, that death is not the end, but a door to another form of existence. However, there is something even deeper in all of this. If consciousness survives death, if we are more than matter, and our existence is not merely a few years on this planet, then the real question is, what are we doing here? The great spiritual traditions have asserted that life in this world is a school, a process of learning and evolution. If consciousness is eternal, then in every experience, every challenge, every suffering, and every joy could have a much deeper purpose than we imagine. Perhaps our mission is not simply to survive or accumulate material wealth, but to awaken to our true nature. Maybe the search for God is not about blind faith or following imposed dogmas, but rather a process of internal rediscovery, a way to remember who we truly are and what our role is in this vast universal intelligence. If God is not a separate being, but consciousness itself, then our connection with the divine is not found outside of us, but within. Every thought, every emotion, every act of love and compassion could be a way to align ourselves with that infinite consciousness. And if we understand this, our perception of life changes completely. It means we are not victims of a cold, mechanical universe. We are not here by accident, nor are we mere biological machines without purpose. We are part of a cosmic intelligence, and we have the power to influence reality, to elevate our consciousness, and to transform our world from within. Science is just beginning to scratch the surface of this truth. What the ancient sages knew by intuition and direct experience is now starting to be supported by quantum physics, neuroscience, and consciousness studies. The boundary between the spiritual and the scientific is fading, and we are moving closer to a unified understanding of reality. And here lies the greatest revelation of all. If consciousness is the foundation of reality, If everything is interconnected in a vast field of intelligence, then each of us is a manifestation of that universal consciousness. In other words, the answer to the question, what is God, might be much simpler and more powerful than we ever imagined. God is not something external, distant, or unreachable. God is the conscious universe, the infinite field of which we are all a part. God is the observing consciousness, the intelligence that sustains existence, the divine spark that resides within each of us. And when we awaken to this truth, we realize that we have never been separate from the divine. We have always been part of it. The true awakening is not finding God in the heavens, but recognizing Him within ourselves and in everything around us. Now that you've heard this, the question is, how will this change the way you see life? Thank you for watching.